manage it to your advantage, to the advantage of the community, and to get better results. Because whenever emotions fly, the result is always bad.
Yes.
In general,
Yeah. In
it is
general.
negative.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back. It is your favorite time of the week. It's also my favorite time of the week. It's time for Leaders Talk, and as usual, I am your intrepid host, Andrew Dupe, head of communications over here at Leaders Brands. So today I have as a guest Rizwan Haider. So Rizwan is an accomplished international banker with over 4 decades of experience in the global financial sector, and he currently serves as the chairman of the consulting firm Acronel SAS. Currently serving as a senior advisor to the president of the Republic of Benin, he is a banking and financial expert, and his past includes the CEO of Ecobank Benin, Group COO of Ecobank, and senior vice president at HSBC and regional head of African Development of Canada (EDC). He has held positions across various institutions, including Vista Group Holding, Vista Bank Burkina, and Safir Asset Management. Rizwan's also the founding president of the American Business Club Benin and two-time president of the Benin Bankers Association. His expertise spans structured finance, corporate restructuring, and institutional leadership across Africa and the Middle East. And importantly to us, he is the author of It Began in Africa, a banker's memoir from the heartland. Rizwan, welcome. I mean, we're definitely going to be talking about the book, and that's an impressive CV. But yeah, I mean, kind of introduce yourself to the audience, cover maybe some things that we didn't, and kind of let them know a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for this opportunity. Yes, as you said, my career has been very long and in different continents, but primarily in Africa, where I have spent a lot of time working for various international and regional banking institutions. And I have accumulated a lot of stories. I lived through different periods of different political and economic situations and cultural differences and diversity that I have experienced all through my career. So I have tried to sort of gather some selected stories without revealing any secrets or without any major disclosures. But it is a lighthearted account of some episodes of my life.
Excellent. Well, yeah, and that you kind of bring up an interesting point that, there's a lot of people in the United States that don't really know a lot about the economic situations in Africa and about the challenges that come from working on the continent, especially in finance. I mean, I hate to say it, but many American entrepreneur CEOs probably have a negative view of Africa and African finance and economy. So, kind of just break down for us a little bit about the challenges that you've had in working with Africa, and maybe some of the things that might enlighten some of our audience about what it's like to work there.
Yes. Well, Africa is very big and extremely diverse. So, right now there are 54 countries in Africa. There are different zones of climate and terrain and cultures and societies. So my first experience in Africa was in the equatorial part of Africa, which is the deep forest and extremely, unknown part. The country called Gabon.
There's a lot still unexplored.
Yes. So but it had most facilities, amenities, things that you need in life were very much available. Of course, it was a former French colony, so the language was French. So I had challenges to learn French very quickly and understand the economic and banking and monetary system that was completely connected to France. So that was my first experience, and this is how I got to know Africa. And since I've traveled and lived in several other countries in Africa, but you can say that it is challenging at times. It can be frustrating. It can be fun. So there are all kinds of things like any other part of the world. Yeah, I mean, and you would be surprised. I mean, if you go to South Africa, there are parts in South Africa that look like California. You will be you won't know where you are. So it has been a journey. It has been a very powerful experience all through, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And it is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also a good point. And I think that's something that's lost on, especially, and maybe in American European audiences, just how much wealth there is on the continent. I mean, it's a large
Yes.
place, and we're not just talking about mineral wealth, which I mean that has been known since the very first since the very first trade
Yes.
with that happened with the Central African Republic like Mansa Musa. But that is only the tip of the iceberg, really, isn't it?
Exactly. See, Africa is the continent of natural resources. There is no
Yes.
doubt about it. So you have from petroleum to gold to uranium to manganese to bauxite. I mean, the list is very long. But Africa is also becoming a major producer of agricultural produce. So there is a lot of, for example, cotton has become a big product in Africa. Then tourism is a big industry in Africa. A lot of countries receive a lot of tourists, especially the northern part of Africa, countries like Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt. Egypt is probably one of the top ones that receive massive numbers of tourists every year. Then you have today there is a kind of competition going on among various world powers to have better access to the natural resources. So this has always been the game that has been played on the African continent, and there are very thoroughly, rich Africans, as well as other country citizens who have made a lot of wealth in Africa. So as a banker, this has been part of my job to manage wealth and to grow that wealth. So this is, yes, it is a continent of contrasts. There are differences in lifestyles and income levels, and there is poverty in certain areas of Africa, which you will also find in Asia and
Right, you'll
South
find that
America.
anywhere, really. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
not unique to the continent, despite the fact that I think some people think maybe it is.
No, it has always been a surprise, when for people who come from Asia, for example, people coming from India or something, they find that Africans living probably better than them, and this is always a kind of a shock. Yes.
Well, so tell me a little bit, as we kind of start segueing a little into the book, tell me a little bit about your introduction to Africa, about just from the beginning, what brought you there to the very beginning, and just a little bit about your first impressions and maybe some challenges you faced when you first got there.
Absolutely. I finished my education. I grew up in Pakistan, in the city of Karachi, and I was going to go ahead and do an accounting training, what is called chartered accountancy, like CPA in America, a certified public accountant. In the US, the equivalent in the British system is chartered accountancy. So I had started to do that, and then I just by sheer accident, I applied for a position that was published in the newspapers. An international bank was hiring young graduates for positions in various countries in the world. They didn't even specify the countries or continents. So I applied for that. I had an older cousin who encouraged me to do that, and I did that. And I was called for interviews, tests, and eventually I was selected. A small group, and we went through training for 6 months in banking. And till the end, it was not sure where I was going. I could have gone to the Middle East or Europe, but they asked me what is your choice and all that, and they offered me several countries, and as a young man, I had no idea. They said countries like Ivory Coast or something. It sounded very nice. I said, it sounds
Yes, sounds exotic. Yes.
yeah. I said, yeah, why not? Why not Africa? They said, okay. And then they said, you have to learn French. So started some training in French. Then I was sent to France for a short while for a language course. And from there, I was sent to the country of Gabon. So that was my first, encounter with Africa. And after the excitement of going to the African continent, at that time there was no internet or anything. I had done some research to find out what it was, and everything was a discovery because they didn't teach much about Africa in school at that time. And when I arrived there, it was, I would say that it was a cultural shock. It was a shock at different levels because it was so different from where I grew up or the short stay in France or something. I had been to England a little bit, but that was my exposure to the world. And arriving in Africa in this small country, it is an oil-producing country. At that time, the population was about 500,000, the whole country. But there were international oil companies and other mining companies that were operating there. And the climate is very humid and hot. It's very green. It's like you are in the middle of forest when you are in the city. And when I arrived at the airport, it looked like I was landing in the middle of the jungle. There was really, it felt like it is the forest. And it was night and it was raining and it was like lightning and thunder. And the airport looked very small and almost flimsy, shaky. I said, where have I come? What is this place? What am I going to face? And I got there, started my work, and every day was new things that I would see. I have told a story that the first night I stayed in an apartment that was on top of the building of the bank. They had put me there, and in the morning, in the balcony of the apartment, I saw a huge lizard with different colors, orange, black, and all that. It was like a crocodile. It was huge. And I was shocked. I said, what is this thing? And what am I going to do? So I called the bank downstairs, my people. I said, listen, there's a strange animal in the balcony. What should I do? They said, listen, your breakfast is here. You please just come down. Don't worry about that. So when I walked down the stairs, I realized why they were so not worried about this big animal, because there were like hundreds of them on the on the ground, just to walk into the bank. They were all over the place. So this is how the landscape was. So completely alien environment for me.
Special guest.
From yes.
Well,
But it took me. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, that's I love it because I mean that's just kind of the adventure of
Yes,
that many people at that age don't get to experience those kind of things. It's so insulated in some of their lives, especially in business and banking, that's the kind of thing that they don't really get to see.
And the bank was right facing the ocean, so it was just the road and the ocean on the other side. And in the evening, crabs used to come over the street and come all the way to the bank. You would see in the evening when you leave work, you will see these crabs coming over. So it was like a strange scene from science fiction movie or something. So those were my very early experiences. And after that, but it took me about 2 months to get myself fully adjusted to the environment and start to like and enjoy the place. Because the first shock is that, my God, where have I come? What am I going to do? How can I survive here? Should I go back? Should I just forget about this? This is not for me, or what? Because on top of that, you had the language challenge. You had to understand the equations, the culture. Everything was different. People and there were people from different nationalities. It was quite international. The environment was quite international. A lot of Africans from other African countries. There were Europeans. There were people from the Middle East, Lebanese. So you very easily I could find my sort of circle of friends and connections, and within a few months, I was fully adjusted. And later on, I found out that Africa is like this. Either you like it very quickly or you will never like it. And some expats don't like it, and they feel miserable, and they try to get out and go wherever they can. Some people come and they say, okay, I have 2 years or 3 years for posting here. I will try to make it as short as possible and go somewhere else. So that was, that was also a way of doing it. In my case, it was extreme because I just made it my home. And although I moved out for the reasons of career or family and all that, sometimes I moved out of Africa. I lived in Canada. I got Canadian citizenship at one point. And my kids, they grew up in Canada. They studied in Canada and all that. But then I always came back to Africa. So that's my story.
And I do hear that from a lot of people, and you're right that there's some that go there and they don't want to stay, and they call it as a stop in their career. But there's some that when they go there, there's a tie. There's just something about the place that keeps them there. They can't, and that goes all the way. I've read memoirs that go to the old colonial times when people would visit and would never go, would refuse to go, would stay there, even under threat of danger. They would stay there because they fall in love with the continent and with the place and just can't get away.
No, I have kept a balance, but there are people who go totally, into the environment, and they kind of forget about everything else. But I've kept a balance. I've kept a balance. Otherwise, I have been very comfortable, and even my children, they love Africa. So whenever they have a chance, they come and spend time. Otherwise,
it's definitely on my bucket list of places to visit. But I mean, this is I guess that this is the kind of stories that we can expect if someone goes and picks up It Began in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a glimpse of the stories. I have a very colorful, sort of mixture of all kinds of stories in different parts of Africa. I'm not going to tell all those stories.
Oh no, we want everybody to buy to pick that up.
Yes.
But that's it's a good taste. I mean, what kind of inspired you to eventually write this down? Because I mean, I know people that have worked in exotic places, Africa, Southeast Asia, various others. I mean, even Antarctica at one point. But they don't always pick up a book or pick up pen and paper and write it down in a book. So, what was your inspiration to share this with people?
Well, the first inspiration was COVID.
Oh, I expected to hear that.
Yeah, but this was something that I mean, I tell my stories to my friends and family and people around me, and they've always encouraged me to write it down, you know, and
Yeah.
they say, well, you should write it down, and you know, that it sounds so interesting and all that. And I always considered that this was because they are very nice, and we have had a few, you know, good moments, a nice dinner, people say nice things. But some people told me seriously that, listen, it's about time that you put it on paper. And I started, but uh, I don't have a sort of writing experience in that sense, because I used to write a lot in my business, but that's a different kind of writing, you know,
Yeah,
business
yeah,
reports and
that really translate at all. Yeah.
really that does not help at all. So my terminology and my language was completely different. So it took me a little bit of time to put my thoughts together and decide how I should write it. Should I write it in third person or first person, or should I make it complete like a fiction, or in the end, with the help of Reader's Press, I sort of structured it the way it finally came out. And it is really a very small portion of the memories and the collection of stories that I have. But we thought that this was good for a first book, and see
Oh
how
yeah,
it
that's what I was
goes.
saying. I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
there's
yeah,
more,
yeah,
is there
yeah,
maybe another? Is there
yeah,
maybe a sequel
yeah.
in the future for us?
Yeah, or maybe a different kind of book, but yes,
Okay.
that would be quite. Now I have a better sort of feel of how
Well,
to do
and
it.
I hear
Yeah,
that a lot from authors. As a writing
yeah.
coach, something that I find is that
Mm,
the first
mm.
time is always the hardest. And
Yeah,
when
yeah,
when
yeah.
someone is writing, it's
Mm,
you're approaching it in a very good. But this is part of free advice, I guess you can get from from me, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah,
mm.
writing what you know is one of those things that they always tell you, and it's very very true. And
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
doing the first writing, you should always write
Mm,
something that you've had the experience with, that you know, because then it kind of
mm,
opens up things for later. Yeah.
mm. Absolutely, yeah. And it's the same with talking in public, and it's the
Right.
same with writing. That you can only, I mean, you can do it very well on the subjects that you know thoroughly well, and you are the only one who can tell that
Oh yeah.
angle of a story. Yeah,
Yeah, your
yeah,
stories are always
yeah,
yours. I mean, you're the
yeah,
unique
yeah, yeah,
voice. There are
yeah,
seven
yeah,
billion unique voices in the world.
yeah.
There's no such thing as a
Exactly,
repeat. Um, but
exactly.
so, Rizwan, as we're kind of winding down a little bit on time, do you have something that to leave with the audience? Just maybe a golden nugget, perhaps about your experiences there, or maybe another story, just something that the
Yeah.
audience can kind of take away.
Yeah, there are some things that I learned in Africa, and from the wisdom that exists in every society, every culture. There's something that I learned from some very, I would say, wise West Africans,
Mhm.
from their cultural uh, background and their collective experience. So I was when I started my career, I was always a little bit impatient about things. I wanted them to be finished quickly, and if they didn't go the way I wanted them to go, there's always a lot of frustration and built-in sort of anger. And One gentleman who came from a series of generations of uh, African traditional chiefs,
Mhm.
traditional leaders of their communities. Uh, he told me that in their culture, say in our society, in our traditional society, we learn to handle our emotions in a way, especially if you are a leader, if you are somebody who is guiding others, how do you do it? So I said, yeah, okay, how do you do it? Tell me. Tell me how you can actually manage it to your advantage, to the advantage of the community, and to get better results. Because whenever emotions fly, it's always, the result is always bad.
Yeah.
In general. In
Yeah.
general, it
In
is
general.
negative. In general, it's negative. It's not positive.
Mm.
So he said, yes. He said, listen, the rule is that when you are really angry, do not show your anger. Just don't show it. But
Mhm.
there are situations when you need to show your anger. But at that time, you are completely cool inside. And you are exercising a level of annoyance and anger to correct the situation that you are handling. And
Mhm.
at that time, everything you will say will be fully controlled, fully thought out and measured. So your anger comes out as, very productive, because the message you are passing is probably strong, but
Mhm.
the situation demands that you have a strong message at that point in time. But if you are angry, what things you will say will not be perfectly focused and maybe damaging, in that
Right.
situation. So this kind of management, that when you are angry, you keep it to yourself, and when you want to be angry, you are perfectly cool and calm inside. This was a completely new concept for me, and I started to think about it and work on that, and I practiced that in my professional life. And I did that. When I did that, the results were very good. The results were very positive. Obviously, in the personal life, it's more difficult. In the personal life,
Right.
it's more difficult because you can't control your emotions when things are so close to your, sentiment and your loved ones and all that.
Right.
So at that time, but even if you can do it to a certain extent, I mean, when you are managing your kids and all that, it helps a lot. It helps a lot that
Well,
you show some anger, which is purely not real anger, and it works much better than if you're really angry, because your kids,
yeah.
they know it.
I tell you, as someone who spent a long time as a teacher, that is a really good skill set to have. Being
Really?
able to be
Okay.
cool on the inside, but act like you're
Okay.
angry and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
come
yeah.
off. That's a good way to
Absolutely.
quiet down a
Absolutely.
classroom.
Absolutely.
And yes,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, there are some good applications
Mhm.
in life, but be careful.
Mhm. Well,
Well,
you have to be
Rizwan,
careful. It doesn't work in every situation.
doesn't
It
work in
doesn't work
every
in every
situation.
situation.
Don't
No,
don't don't do it
no,
with your wife. You'll end up
no,
divorced like me.
no, 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 no. Close,
Well,
when you are emotionally close to people, you cannot fake it. They will see it
right.
through, you know.
That you're right. You're
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Rizwan,
yeah.
how can our audience find out a little bit more about you?
More about me? Okay, so what can I tell you? I have three daughters.
Oh, just in
Uh,
how they can find you. Yeah.
yeah.
How can they find
Sorry,
out more about you?
how can they find out?
Website. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the book is available
On Amazon. Yep. It
on
began in Africa. Yes.
It Began in Africa is available on Amazon
Mhm.
in electronic form, ebook or paperback or hardcover. It is also available at Barnes and Nobles and all the major bookstores in America and everywhere else in the world. You can order it online with Amazon. So my friends from all over the world, they are finding out about the book these days, and I'm getting so many messages from so many parts of the world, people that I had no contact with for such a long time. And in one story in my book, it's about Angola in Africa. where one Portuguese lady had helped me in one situation, and I had no contact with her for about maybe 20 years. And she found out about it. She read the book and she contacted me. And she said, "Oh, this is so wonderful. This reminded me of such a great time that she had when she was working in Angola, and she had helped me at that time." And I was like completely out of the blue. So people are finding out. It's still early, but the word is going around.
Excellent.
It's,
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those links to purchase It Began in Africa, a Banker's Memoir from the Heartland, are right down below. So go ahead and click on that and pick up a copy. Rizwan, we loved having you today. We wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, we're going to have you on again. We'll see how this book does for you and maybe have you back in the future.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you so much, Andrew, for this opportunity.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
You too.